Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane led cybersecurity. Date, March 15, 2024. Time, 14:32 Central Standard Time. Classification, routine maintenance alert. Another day in paradise. That's what I used to call working the graveyard shift monitoring Austin's smart city infrastructure. 47,000 connected devices keeping our little slice of Texas running smooth as butter. Traffic lights that adapt to rush hour, water treatment plants that self-regulate, emergency services with real-time data feeds. Beautiful stuff, really. Should have known it was too good to last. The first anomaly pinged my console at 2:47 a.m. Nothing dramatic, just a routine authentication failure on the downtown traffic management grid. Standard protocol kicked in. Automated retry, backup authentication server, problem solved in 30 seconds. I logged it and moved on. City that never sleeps and all that. But then the cameras started lying. I'm required to spot check our surveillance feeds every hour. Union rules, insurance requirements, the whole 9 yards. At 3:15, I pulled up the feed from the 6th Street corridor. Empty sidewalks, which made sense for a Tuesday night. Except the infrared sensors were showing heat signatures where the cameras showed nothing. Bodies walking through empty space. Ran diagnostics 3 times. Cameras functioning normally. Infrared grid functioning normally. The data just didn't match. Called my partner Cassiel Torres around 3:30. She's been working network security longer than I've been alive, and she's got this way of making me feel stupid for overthinking things. Probably just calibration drift, she said, voice thick with sleep. Run the recalibration protocol and file a maintenance request. She was right, of course. The protocol cleared the discrepancy. Heat signatures lined up with visual feeds again. Everything back to normal. But normal felt wrong somehow. I kept pulling up that corridor feed. Watched those empty sidewalks like they owed me money. The longer I stared, the more I noticed things. Street lights flickering in sequence, but not random. There was a pattern. Fire hydrant sensors pinging offline for exactly 90 seconds each, moving block by block in a grid pattern. Like something was testing our systems. Or mapping them. At 5:45, the emergency alert system activated for a routine maintenance window. Automated message broadcast to all city departments. Scheduled infrastructure maintenance will affect select municipal systems between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. Citizens are advised that brief service interruptions may occur. I don't remember scheduling any maintenance. Pulled up the work order system. Sure enough, there it was. Maintenance request hashtag 4471B, filed yesterday at 4:17 p.m. Authorized by Senior Systems Administrator Joran Webb. Standard language, proper authorization codes, everything by the book. Except I've worked with Joran for 3 years, and he always runs maintenance requests past me first. Always. Guy's so paranoid about security protocols he won't sneeze without documentation. I tried calling him. Straight to voicemail. The maintenance window came and went without incident. Traffic flowed, water pumped, lights stayed on. Whatever they were doing, it was subtle. Professional. The kind of work that doesn't leave obvious traces. But at 8:17 a.m., 17 minutes after the window officially closed, I caught something that made my blood freeze. The security camera in the municipal building's server room, our most secure facility, biometric locks and all, showed an empty room. Motion sensors showed the same, but the server access logs showed someone had been in there for the past 2 hours. Running diagnostic scripts, pulling system configurations, copying security certificates. Someone with administrative access. Someone who knew our systems better than they should. I'm filing this log because protocol demands it, but also because something feels fundamentally wrong about today. The city's nervous system got probed by something that knew exactly what it was looking for. The kind of reconnaissance that comes before an attack. Cassiel thinks I'm paranoid. My brother Lorcan thinks I watch too many conspiracy documentaries. Maybe they're right, but those cameras don't usually lie. And now I can't shake the feeling that something's watching us back. End log. Next scheduled maintenance, March 22nd, 2024. 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Authorization, pending review. Addendum, called Joran Webb 6 times today. Still no response. His access badge hasn't been used since Monday. Where the hell is he? Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane led cybersecurity. Date, March 16th, 2024. Time, 11:47 Central Standard Time. Classification, priority alert, pattern recognition. Cassio came in early today. Found her hunched over her workstation at 6 a.m., 3 empty coffee cups lined up like soldiers, fingers flying across dual keyboards with that manic energy she gets when something's really wrong. "Tell me about yesterday's maintenance window," she said without looking up. I pulled up my notes. Jorn's request ran clean, nothing obvious. Bullshit. She spun her monitor around. "Look at this. Network traffic analysis. Beautiful cascading graphs showing data flow patterns across Austin's infrastructure. Yesterday's maintenance window showed up as a coordinated spike across 17 different municipal systems. Not random diagnostic scripts, synchronized data extraction. Someone pulled configuration files from traffic management, water treatment, emergency services, and power grid monitoring. All at the same time. All using legitimate administrative credentials." She highlighted the anomalous patterns. "This wasn't maintenance, Roderick. This was reconnaissance." My stomach dropped. How much did they get? Enough to map our entire network topology. System vulnerabilities, backup protocols, emergency response procedures. Everything you'd need to. She trailed off, staring at her screen. "To what?" "To bring it all down." That's when my phone rang. Lorcan, my little brother. Works software development for a private firm downtown. Kid's brilliant with code, but couldn't find his way out of a paper bag without GPS. "Rod, something weird's happening at work." His voice had that tight quality it gets when he's scared. "Our building management system's going haywire. Elevators stopping between floors, climate control running full blast, security doors locking and unlocking randomly. Probably just a software glitch." That's what I thought, but I pulled the logs. Someone's been accessing our building systems remotely for the past week, using municipal network credentials. Cassio and I locked eyes. She was already pulling up the building management interface for Lorcan's office complex. "Rod, you still there?" "Yeah, I'm here." "Listen, can you get out of the building?" "What? Why would I?" The line went dead. Cassio's fingers were flying again, accessing the building's security cameras. We watched the feeds in real time. Elevator cars stuck between floors, emergency lighting strobing in the stairwells, employees clustered in lobbies looking confused and worried. "Someone's using our municipal access to test private sector vulnerabilities," Cassio muttered. "This isn't random malicious hacking. This is coordinated." I tried calling Lorcan back. Straight to voicemail. That's when the first citywide anomaly hit. 11:23 a.m. Traffic lights on the I-35 corridor began cycling in perfect synchronization, creating artificial traffic waves that backed up commuter traffic for miles. 11:27 a.m. Water pressure fluctuations reported across the downtown district. Not enough to cause damage, just enough to make people notice. 11:31 a.m. Emergency Services Dispatch System logged 47 false alarms in a 4-minute window, all traced to system calibration errors. Each incident lasted exactly 90 seconds. Each resolved automatically. Each left digital fingerprints that pointed to legitimate system maintenance protocols. "They're testing response times," Cassio said, her voice barely above a whisper. "How long it takes us to identify problems, how we respond, what our escalation procedures are." I pulled up the emergency alert system, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Protocol said to notify the mayor's office, declare a potential cybersecurity incident, activate emergency response teams. But activate them against what? Someone using legitimate credentials to run what looked like authorized maintenance. Someone who knew our systems better than we did. "Cassio, we need to." She was staring at her workstation with an expression I'd never seen before. Fear mixed with something else. "Guilt? What is it?" "The administrative credentials they're using." She pointed at her screen. "They're not stolen. They're not hacked. They're legitimate accounts with proper authorization signatures." "That's impossible. We monitor all admin account usage." "Not these accounts." Her voice was getting smaller. "These are shadow accounts. Backup administrative access for special circumstances." "What special circumstances? What the hell are you talking about?" She looked at me then, and I saw something break behind her eyes. "Roderick, there are things about our network architecture that aren't in the official documentation. Backdoors built into the system from the beginning. For oversight. For contingencies." The room felt like it was tilting. Oversight by who? Before she could answer, her phone buzzed. Text message. She read it, and her face went completely white. "I have to go." "Cassie'll wait." But she was already grabbing her jacket, heading for the door. "Don't log any of this. Don't file incident reports. Don't call anyone." "Why not?" She stopped at the door, hand on the frame. For a moment, she looked like she might say something important, something that would explain the fear in her eyes. Instead, she just said, "Because we don't know who's listening." End log. Status: Lorcan Kane, contact lost. Status: Cassiel Torres, location unknown. Systems: multiple anomalies detected. Response: pending authorization. Personal note: found security badge for Joran Webb in parking garage. Ran his access logs for the past week. According to the system, he's been in the building every day, working normal hours. But I haven't seen him once. How many of us are actually who we say we are? Emergency log: Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst: Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date: March 17th, 2024. Time: 3:22 Central Standard Time. Classification: unauthorized access, eyes only. Cassiel hasn't been back to the office. Her supervisor says she called in sick, but her access badge was used to enter the building at 2:17 a.m. Security cameras show empty hallways. I'm done pretending this is normal. Spent the night digging through system logs, following digital breadcrumbs that shouldn't exist. The shadow accounts Cassiel mentioned? They're real. Buried deep in the network architecture, hidden behind layers of encryption and misdirection. Administrative access with no oversight, no logging, no trace. 12 accounts total. All created the same day our smart city infrastructure went online 3 years ago. All with clearance levels higher than mine, higher than the mayor's. The access patterns are surgical. Whoever's using these accounts knows exactly what they're looking for, exactly how long they can stay connected before triggering alerts. They've been in our systems for months, maybe years, but it's the metadata that makes my hands shake. Every shadow account access correlates with real-world events. System maintenance, right before city council votes on technology funding. Network updates, hours before emergency response drills. Data extraction synchronized with budget meetings, infrastructure planning sessions, personnel reviews. Someone's been watching, learning, planning. At 2:45 a.m., I made a decision that probably violates every protocol in the book. I created my own shadow access, piggybacking off one of their accounts to see where the data was going. The trail led to a server farm outside Pflugerville, officially owned by a consulting company called Meridian Solutions. Unofficially, the company doesn't exist. Corporate registration is a shell, filed by lawyers who represent other shells, all the way down to a P.O. box in Delaware. But the server farm is real, and it's been receiving copies of Austin's entire digital infrastructure for the past 18 months. That's when I found the communication logs. Encrypted messages bounced through multiple VPN nodes, all traced back to a single coordination point. The messages are coded, but the timestamps tell a story. Surveillance reports filed daily, target assessments updated weekly. Personnel evaluations, including one with my name on it. They know I'm investigating. Worse, they know I found their breadcrumbs. Because at 3:05 a.m., 17 minutes ago, someone used Cassiel's shadow account to delete 47 gigabytes of evidence from our servers. But they made a mistake. They assumed I was working alone. My brother Lorcan finally called back around midnight. Turns out his building lockdown wasn't random, it was a test. Someone wanted to see how employees would react to a system malfunction. How long before they called emergency services. How building security would respond. What protocols they'd follow. "Rod, they had observers," he said, voice shaking. "Guys in suits with tablets, taking notes while we were trapped. They weren't trying to fix anything. They were studying us. Did you recognize any of them?" That's the thing. One of them looked familiar, like someone I'd seen around the municipal building. My blood turned to ice. "Can you describe him?" "Tall, maybe 45, gray hair, scar on his left hand. Walks like military. Joran Webb. The missing systems administrator whose access badge I found in the parking garage. The man whose accounts show he's been working normal hours while nobody's seen him in days." I pulled up Joran's personnel file. 3 years with the city, exemplary performance reviews, security clearance for critical infrastructure. But when I dug deeper, past the official records, I found something that made my stomach drop. Joran Webb died in a car accident in Houston 4 years ago. Whoever's been working under his identity has been planning this from the beginning. At 3:19 a.m., My workstation screen flickered. For just a moment, a message appeared. "We know you're watching. Stop now or lose everything." The message vanished before I could screenshot it, but the implicit threat was clear. They have access to more than just city systems. They know where I live, where Lorcan works, who we care about. This isn't just about Austin's infrastructure anymore. This is personal. I'm uploading this log to a secure server outside the municipal network. If something happens to me, if I disappear like Cassio or get replaced like Joran, maybe someone will find it. Maybe someone will understand what's coming. Because I've seen the final piece of the puzzle. Hidden in the deepest layers of their encrypted communications, there's a countdown timer. 72 hours remaining. 72 hours until what? I don't know. But based on the data they've been collecting, the systems they've been mapping, the responses they've been timing, it's going to be big. Citywide. Coordinated. Devastating. They've been preparing for this for years. And we handed them the keys. End log. Backup uploaded. External server. Encryption military grade. Dead man's switch activated. Final note. If you're reading this and I'm gone, find Malin Cross in emergency response. Tell her the shadow accounts are active and the countdown has started. Tell her Meridian Solutions isn't consulting. They're conquering. Timer status, 71 hours, 43 minutes, and 17 seconds and counting. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date, March 18th, 2024. Time, 16:34 Central Standard Time. Classification, critical incident, active breach. They're not waiting for the countdown anymore. It started at 2:47 p.m. Power grid fluctuations across the entire downtown district. Nothing dramatic at first. Lights dimming for 3 seconds, air conditioning cycling off and back on. The kind of brownout that happens during peak summer demand. Except it's March, and our power consumption is at seasonal lows. I was reviewing overnight logs when every monitor in the control room started flashing amber. Grid management software showed cascading load balancing failures across 14 substations. Not random equipment malfunctions, coordinated digital attacks designed to stress the system without causing permanent damage. Yet, Emergency Response Coordinator Malin Cross was on site within 20 minutes, her team scrambling to implement manual overrides. That's when I pulled her aside and told her everything. The shadow accounts, the stolen identity, the countdown timer that's been accelerating. She listened without interrupting, her face getting paler with each detail. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Based on the pattern escalation? Hours, maybe less." That's when the transportation grid collapsed. 3:15 p.m. Every traffic light in the city switched to red simultaneously. Not a system failure, a coordinated shutdown. Austin's Smart Traffic Management Network, the pride of our municipal technology program, turned into a citywide parking lot in under 60 seconds. 3:18 p.m. Public transit buses received false route updates, sending them to depot locations instead of passenger stops. Automated systems locked the vehicles once they arrived, trapping drivers inside. 3:22 p.m. The airport's ground control system started issuing contradictory landing instructions. 2 incoming flights had to abort approach and circle, while controllers switched to manual procedures. "They're isolating the city," Malin said, watching the chaos unfold on our monitoring screens. "Cutting off escape routes. But the worst part? My brother Lorcan called during the traffic shutdown. "Rod, I can't get out of my building." His voice was tight with panic. "The automated security system locked down all exits. Says there's a containment protocol in effect." "What containment protocol?" "I don't know, but there are 30 people trapped in here, and the building management system is running some kind of diagnostic that's been going for 2 hours." I pulled up the interface for his building. The system showed normal operations, climate control active, security systems online, no alerts or anomalies. But when I tried to access the door controls to unlock the exits, I got an error message. "Access denied, Meridian override active." They weren't just testing his building anymore. They were using it as a cage. Lorcan listened to me. "Find the manual fire safety controls. Red boxes near the stairwells." "Already tried. They're not responding either." "What do you mean not responding?" "I mean the fire alarm system has been digitally disabled. Even the manual pull stations are connected to the building network, and someone's locked them out remotely. 30 people trapped in a smart building that's been turned into a digital prison. My little brother among them. That's when I stopped following protocol. I used my administrative access to trace the Meridian overrides in real time. The commands were coming from multiple locations simultaneously, the server farm in Pflugerville, but also from inside the municipal building. Someone was coordinating the attack from our own control room. The access logs showed 3 active shadow accounts. One I recognized as the fake Joran Webb. The other 2 were using credentials belonging to employees who were supposedly on vacation. Employees who I realized I hadn't seen in weeks. At 4:12 p.m., Cassiel walked back into the control room. She looked terrible, pale, exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. But she was carrying a tablet and wearing a visitor's badge instead of her regular ID. "Roderick, we need to talk. Where the hell have you been? Trying to stop this." She glanced around the room, then motioned for me to follow her into the server corridor. "There are things you don't understand. Things I couldn't tell you before. Try me." She pulled up files on her tablet. Network diagrams, personnel records, financial documents. Meridian Solutions isn't a consulting company. It's a front for a government program. A test of critical infrastructure vulnerabilities. What kind of test? The kind that determines whether American cities can survive coordinated cyber warfare. Austin was chosen as the pilot program 3 years ago. My world tilted. "You're telling me this is authorized?" It was supposed to be contained. Limited scope, controlled variables, no civilian casualties. Her hands were shaking. But the people running it went rogue. They're not testing vulnerabilities anymore. They're exploiting them. For what? Proof of concept. They want to demonstrate that a small team with inside access can bring down an entire city's infrastructure. Then they'll sell the methodology to the highest bidder. The temperature in the corridor seemed to drop 20 degrees. "And you've known about this how long?" "Since the beginning. I was the inside monitor, supposed to ensure the tests stayed within parameters." She met my eyes, and I saw the guilt there. "I'm so sorry, Roderick. I never thought they'd go this far." Before I could respond, my phone rang. Malin Cross. "Roderick, you need to get back to the control room. Now." We ran back to find chaos. Every screen in the room was flashing red. Water treatment facilities were reporting contamination alerts. The emergency services dispatch system was routing all 911 calls to a dead phone line. Hospital backup generators were cycling on and off, creating power spikes that were frying medical equipment. And on the main display screen, a message was scrolling in large block letters. "Phase 1 complete. Initiating Phase 2. Meridian Solutions sends its regards." Malin grabbed my arm. "How do we stop this?" I looked at Cassiel, who was staring at the screens with horror in her eyes. "Tell me you have a way to shut them down," I said. She nodded slowly. "There's a kill switch, but activating it means exposing the entire program. Everyone involved goes down, including me. And if we don't..." She pointed at the countdown timer that had appeared on the main screen. 6 hours, 14 minutes. Phase 3 is citywide infrastructure collapse. Water, power, communications, transportation. Everything goes dark simultaneously. Outside, I could hear sirens, car horns, shouting. Austin was starting to panic, and we were running out of time. End log. Phase 2 status, active. Civilian casualties, mounting. Response team, compromised. Timer status, 6 hours, 14 minutes, and 32 seconds, and counting. Critical decision pending. Trust Cassiel's kill switch, or find another solution before the city dies. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date, March 18, 2024. Time, 22:47 Central Standard Time. Classification, catastrophic failure, citywide emergency. They triggered Phase 2 at 6:30 p.m. sharp. The kill switch was a lie. When Cassiel activated what she claimed was the emergency shutdown, every screen in the control room went black for exactly 30 seconds. Then they came back online, and the countdown timer had jumped forward by 4 hours. "What did you do?" I grabbed her shoulders, shaking her. "I don't understand. That should have worked." "It should have." Meridian override complete, flashed across the main display. Phase 2 initiated. Welcome to the new Austin. The city died piece by piece over the next 3 hours. Water treatment plant number 3 went first. Automated systems began pumping raw sewage into the filtration chambers, contaminating the entire southeast distribution network. Emergency broadcast systems activated, warning 400,000 residents not to drink tap water. Then the hospitals. Del Seaton's backup power grid cycled into a feedback loop, sending electrical surges through critical care equipment. I watched the incident report scroll past, ventilators failing, dialysis machines shutting down, surgical lights cutting out mid-operation. Roderick, Malincross's voice cracked over the radio. We have 17 casualties at Seaton alone. The other hospitals are reporting similar failures. How many facilities affected? All of them. Austin's entire medical infrastructure is compromised. That's when I realized the true scope of what we were facing. This wasn't just a demonstration or a rogue test. This was systematic destruction designed to maximize human suffering. They're not trying to prove a point, I told Cassiel. They're trying to cause a body count. She was staring at her tablet, frantically typing commands that weren't responding. No, this isn't right. The parameters were specific. No civilian casualties. No permanent infrastructure damage. Wake up. They've been lying to you from the beginning. The emergency services grid collapsed at 8:15 p.m. Every 911 call in the city started routing to a recorded message. Emergency services are currently unavailable. Please remain calm and await further instructions. Fire trucks couldn't receive dispatch orders. Police units lost communication with Central Command. Ambulances couldn't navigate the transportation grid that was still locked in permanent gridlock. Austin had become an island of chaos in the middle of Texas. And my brother was still trapped. Building management system shows Lorcan's location as secure, I reported to Malin. But I can't get any response from him. The building's communications are completely severed. How many people are trapped in automated lockdowns? I pulled up the citywide building management interface. The numbers made my stomach drop. 47 commercial buildings. Estimated 2,000 civilians. Jesus Christ. That's when the screens changed again. Instead of system status readouts, they began displaying video feeds from inside the trapped buildings. Dozens of tiny windows showing people pressed against locked doors, calling for help that wasn't coming. In the corner of the display, I found Lorcan. He was sitting on the floor of his office, talking to someone I couldn't see. His face was calm, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. He was trying to keep the others from panicking. Can you establish communication? Malin asked. Negative. They've isolated the building's entire network. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. What about manual breach? Send in emergency teams? With what teams? Fire department can't navigate the traffic grid. Police can't coordinate responses. We're on our own. Cassiel looked up from her tablet. There's something else. The phase progression. It's not following the original timeline anymore. What do you mean? Phase 3 was supposed to be infrastructure shutdown, but they've accelerated the schedule. She showed me the display. Look at the countdown. 2 hours, 18 minutes. What happens in 2 hours? I don't know. Phase 3 wasn't in the documentation they gave me. A new message appeared on the main screen. Meridian Solutions invites Austin to witness the future of urban warfare. Phase 3 will demonstrate total societal collapse through digital dependency elimination. They're going to cut everything, I realized. Power, water, communications, transportation. All of it. For how long? Permanently. They're going to brick every connected system in the city. Make it impossible to restore. The implications hit me like a physical blow. Austin had 2.3 million residents. Without power, water, or emergency services, the casualty count would be catastrophic. We'd have a humanitarian disaster that would make Hurricane Katrina look like a minor inconvenience. We need federal assistance, Malin said. This is beyond municipal emergency response. With what communications? I gestured at the dead screens. They've cut us off from the outside world. For all we know, this is happening to other cities simultaneously. That's when I made the decision that would either save Austin or damn it forever. I'm going to manually shut down the city's network infrastructure. What? If I can physically disconnect Austin's servers from the wider network, they can't execute Phase 3 remotely. We'll lose all connected services, but we can restore them manually once the threat is neutralized. Cassiel stared at me. You're talking about shutting down the entire city. Better than letting them destroy it. Roderick, that's not how this works. The systems are interdependent. You shut down the network, you kill the emergency power systems, the water treatment backups, the hospital life support. Those are already compromised. Not completely. There are still manual overrides, backup systems running on local controls. You pull the plug on everything, you'll kill more people than Meridian ever could. She was right. But I was also right. In less than 2 hours, we'd lose everything anyway. What if we can't restore it? I asked. What if they've designed permanent damage? Then we face that when it happens. But we don't preemptively commit mass suicide. The argument was interrupted by a new alarm. The airport's air traffic control system had failed completely. 2 planes were still in Austin airspace, circling on emergency fuel reserves with no way to land safely. That's it, I said. I'm implementing Municipal Emergency Protocol 7. Complete network isolation. Roderick, don't. I was already moving toward the server room when my phone rang. Unknown number. Kane. Hello, Roderick. The voice was calm, professional. Male. This is Operations Director Webb. The real one. Joran. We need to talk. In person. There's a way to stop this, but it requires precise coordination. Where are you? Server room B7. And Roderick? Bring Cassiel. She's going to need to make a choice. The line went dead. I looked at Cassiel, who had gone pale. They want to meet. It's a trap. Probably. But we're out of options. Outside, I could hear the sound of breaking glass. Car alarms. Shouting. The city was starting to tear itself apart. 2 hours, 4 minutes left on the countdown. Whatever choice we made now would determine whether Austin saw another sunrise. End log. Phase 3 status, pending. Civilian casualties mounting. Infrastructure status, critical failure cascade. Timer status, 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 17 seconds and falling. Decision point, trust the real Joran Webb or implement complete shutdown protocol. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane led cybersecurity. Date, March 18, 2024. Time, 23:52 Central Standard Time. Classification, direct contact, hostile engagement. Server room B7 was supposed to be empty. Instead, I found 3 people waiting in the dim emergency lighting. A man in his 50s wearing a Municipal Tech Division badge, Cassiel standing beside him with her hands zip-tied behind her back, and someone I didn't recognize, tall, thin, wearing a Meridian Solutions polo shirt. Hello, Roderick, the older man said. I'm Joran Webb. The real one. Prove it. He rattled off my social security number, employee ID, and the name of my first supervisor from 7 years ago. Information only someone with deep municipal access could have. Where have you been for 3 weeks? Tied up in a storage facility in Round Rock. They needed my credentials, but not my cooperation. He gestured at the Meridian operative. Meet Marcus Holland. He's been impersonating me since February 28th. Holland smiled. Nothing personal, Kane. Just business. What do you want? To make you an offer, Holland said. Phase 3 launches in 68 minutes. Total infrastructure collapse, permanent damage to every connected system in Austin. Unless what? You help us complete the demonstration properly. Let Phase 3 run for exactly 12 minutes, long enough to prove the concept, then we'll restore everything. No permanent damage. Minimal casualties. And if I refuse? Holland pulled out a tablet showing live feeds from 47 buildings across Austin, including my brother's. Then everyone trapped in those buildings dies when life support systems fail, along with everyone else depending on Austin's infrastructure to stay alive. I looked at Joran. Is there another option? There's a manual override protocol, but it requires simultaneous physical access to 3 server locations across the city. And we'd have to coordinate the shutdown sequence perfectly, or we risk cascading failures. What kind of failures? Cassiel spoke for the first time, her voice hoarse. Water treatment plants would dump concentrated chemicals into the river. Hospital backup systems would overload and catch fire. The transportation grid would physically lock every automated vehicle in place. How many casualties? Conservative estimate? 3,000 to 5,000 immediate deaths. Holland's smile widened. Or you can let us run our 12-minute demonstration and save everyone. Your choice, Kane. That's when I noticed Cassiel making eye contact with me. She was trying to communicate something, but with Holland watching, she couldn't speak freely. I need a minute to think, I said. 47 minutes, Holland corrected. That's all the time you have. I walked to the server console, pretending to review system status while actually watching Cassiel in the reflection on the monitor. She was slowly shaking her head and mouthing words I couldn't quite make out. Then I saw it. She was pointing with her restrained hands toward a maintenance access panel near the floor. The emergency manual controls. All right, I said, turning back to Holland. I'll help you run Phase 3. Smart choice. But I need Cassiel's technical expertise. Untie her. I don't think so. Then the deal's off. You want this demonstration to work perfectly? You need both of us. Cassiel knows the water treatment systems better than anyone. Holland considered this, then nodded to someone behind me. I spun around to find another Meridian operative. Apparently they'd been covering the exits. Cut her loose, but watch her closely. As soon as Cassiel's hands were free, she moved toward the water treatment controls. Phase 3 parameters require precise chemical balance adjustments, she said loudly. Otherwise we'll poison half the city instead of just shutting down the plants. Holland was focused on his tablet, coordinating with other teams. That's when Cassiel caught my eye and pointed downward. The maintenance panel was directly under the water treatment console. I understood. While she made adjustments to buy us time, I could access the manual emergency controls. But it would mean crawling under the console in full view of everyone in the room. Holland, I said, what guarantees do we have that you'll actually restore systems after 12 minutes? You have my word. Your word? You've been lying to everyone for months. Fine. He showed me his tablet. This is the master control interface. After Phase 3 runs for 12 minutes, I input this restoration code. He displayed a screen with a long alphanumeric sequence. Everything comes back online automatically. And if something happens to you, then Austin stays dark forever. That's when Joran made his move. He lunged toward Holland's tablet, trying to grab it. The second Meridian operative tackled him, and they went down hard among the server racks. In the chaos, I dropped to the floor and crawled under the console. The maintenance panel was secured with 4 screws, but I had a multi-tool on my keychain. Above me, I could hear fighting. Cassiel shouting instructions that sounded technical, but were actually covering the noise I was making. Chemical mixture ratios need to be adjusted for Phase 3 implementation. We need sulfur compound levels at exactly 2.7 parts per million. First screw out. Second screw out. Holland was yelling orders at his operative while Joran groaned in pain. Third screw. Fourth screw. The panel came away, revealing a grid of manual circuit breakers and emergency switches. Each one was labeled with a different system. Water treat main, power grid A7, hospital backup, transport control. Cassiel. I called. What's the sequence? Water first, then power, then. A gunshot echoed through the server room. I looked up to see Holland standing over Joran, who was clutching his shoulder and bleeding onto the floor. Enough games, Holland said. Phase 3 launches in 31 minutes whether you help or not. The only question is whether we do it cleanly or messily. You bastard, Cassiel spat. Just realistic. Now step away from those controls. That's when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in 3 seconds later, but that was enough time for Cassiel to make her move. In the darkness, she'd activated something on the water treatment console. What did you do? Holland demanded. Started the chemical flush protocol. Every water treatment plant in the city is now dumping its holding tanks into the river. That wasn't part of Phase 3. No, it wasn't. But now you have a choice. Spend the next 30 minutes trying to restore water treatment systems manually, or let Phase 3 run and turn the Colorado River into a toxic waste dump that'll kill everything downstream to Houston. Holland stared at her, then at his tablet. You're bluffing. Check the environmental monitoring feed. He did. His face went pale. You just poisoned 250,000 people. No, I just gave them 30 minutes to evacuate the river basin. If you restore the systems now, we can stop the chemical dump before it reaches Lake Austin. And if I don't, then your demonstration kills a lot more people than you bargained for. Holland looked at his operative, who was bleeding from his fight with Joran. Then at me, still crouched under the console with my hands on the manual overrides. Then at Cassiel, who was standing calm and defiant beside the water treatment controls. You're all insane, he said. Maybe, but we're also right. Holland raised his gun toward Cassiel. That's when I threw every manual switch I could reach. The server room plunged into total darkness as Austin's entire municipal network died. In the blackness, I heard Holland scream in frustration, Cassiel diving for cover, and somewhere in the distance, the sound of Joran dragging himself toward the exit. Emergency lighting flickered on 30 seconds later, revealing Holland and his operative gone. But we'd bought ourselves time. With the network physically severed, Phase 3 couldn't execute remotely. How long do we have? I asked Cassiel. She was checking her tablet, which was now running on cellular backup. Water treatment plants are still dumping. We've got maybe 20 minutes before the contamination reaches critical levels. And the people trapped in buildings? Life support systems are on local backup power. They'll last maybe 4 hours. I helped Joran to his feet. His shoulder was bleeding, but he could move. Can we restore systems manually? I asked him. Some of them. But it'll take days to rebuild the network connection safely. We don't have days. Cassio looked up from her tablet. There's one more option, but it's dangerous. More dangerous than poisoning the Colorado River? I still have Holland's restoration code. If I can access a terminal with direct connection to Meridian's servers, I might be able to trigger their emergency protocols remotely. Where? The server farm in Pflugerville. But it means going into their primary facility. That's suicide. Maybe. But it's also the only way to save everyone. Outside, I could hear sirens in the distance. Fire trucks, probably unable to coordinate their response, but trying anyway. Austin was dying piece by piece. And we had less than 20 minutes to decide whether to risk everything on one desperate plan. End log. Phase 3 status, partially prevented. Network status, manually severed. Contamination threat, active. Civilian casualties, unknown but mounting. Time to critical failure, 19 minutes and 43 seconds. Next decision, infiltrate Meridian facility or attempt manual restoration. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date, March 19th, 2024. Time, 1:33 Central Standard Time. Classification, mission failure, personal casualties. We never made it to Pflugerville. The Meridian server farm was a trap. Holland knew we'd try to reach it, so he made sure we couldn't. At 12:47 a.m., 36 minutes after we severed Austin's network, every major road leading north out of the city suffered simultaneous accidents. Automated vehicles that had been dormant suddenly reactivated, driving themselves into deliberate collisions at key intersections. Semi-trucks jackknifed across highway on-ramps. Construction equipment rolled into traffic lanes and stopped, creating impenetrable barriers. "They're sealing the city," Cassio said, monitoring the chaos from her tablet as we sat in my truck at the Mopac interchange. "No one gets in or out." "How?" "We cut the network connections. They must have secondary systems. Independent networks we didn't know about." Joran was slumped in the passenger seat, his shoulder wrapped in a makeshift bandage from the server room medical kit. Meridian had 3 years to prepare. They probably have hardened communications buried throughout the city. That's when my phone rang. Blocked number. Kane. "Hello, Roderick. This is Director Holland. I believe you have something that belongs to us." "What?" "Our restoration codes." Agent Torres memorized them during the server room encounter. I looked at Cassio, who nodded grimly. "You're right. I did." "Excellent. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to return to the municipal building and input those codes at exactly 2 a.m. In exchange, we'll begin partial system restoration." "What about the people trapped in buildings?" "They'll be released once we've completed our data collection." "Data collection?" "How long various demographic groups can survive in controlled isolation. How quickly social order breaks down. How effectively emergency services can adapt to complete infrastructure failure." His voice was clinical, detached. "Austin isn't just a demonstration, Mr. Kane. It's a laboratory." The line went dead. "They're studying us," I told the others. "We're not just victims, we're test subjects." "For what?" "Urban population control. Crisis management. Probably selling the methodology to authoritarian governments." We sat in silence for a moment, listening to the distant sounds of chaos from the city below. Car alarms. Shouting. Breaking glass. Austin was tearing itself apart while Meridian collected data on the process. "We need to get back to the municipal building," Cassio said. "If there's any chance of saving people." "It's a trap. They'll kill us as soon as we input the codes." "Maybe. But people are dying right now." That's when I got the call I'd been dreading. "Rod." Lorcan's voice was weak, barely audible. "Jesus, Lorca. How are you calling?" "Found an old landline in the building manager's office." "But Rod, we're in trouble. The air circulation system stopped working an hour ago. And..." His voice trailed off. "And what?" "Mrs. Chun from accounting. She has a heart condition. She collapsed 20 minutes ago. We can't get her medication. Can't call an ambulance. She's not going to make it much longer." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. How many people are with you? 23 now. We lost Mr. Martinez from the law firm. Panic attack turned into something worse. And Rod, the building's life support systems are failing. We've got maybe 2 hours of breathable air left. I'm coming to get you. How? The building's locked down tighter than a bank vault. I'll find a way. No, you won't. Listen to me. His voice was getting stronger, more determined. You need to stop these people. Whatever they're doing to the city, it's bigger than just us. Don't sacrifice everyone else to save 23 people. Don't talk like that. I'm serious. Mrs. Chin keeps saying the same thing. She's worked in city planning for 30 years. She knows Austin's infrastructure better than anyone. And she keeps saying this isn't random. They're targeting specific systems in a specific order. What order? First transportation to trap people, then utilities to create desperation, then communications to prevent coordination, and finally, his voice faded for a moment. Finally, they're going to restore everything except the financial systems. Banking, investment, municipal budgets. They're going to wipe out the city's economic infrastructure while leaving just enough working to prevent total collapse. Why would they do that? Think about it. A city that's economically destroyed but physically intact. Perfect for foreign investment. Perfect for outside control. The implications hit me like a physical blow. They're not just testing crisis response. They're engineering economic conquest. That's what Mrs. Chin thinks. And Rod, she wants me to tell you something. The restoration codes Cassiel memorized, they're not just for bringing systems back online. They're for transferring control to Meridian's servers. What do you mean? When you input those codes, you're not saving Austin. You're giving it to them. Permanently. I looked at Cassiel, who had gone pale. Did you know? No. I swear to God, I didn't know. Think, I said. Was there anything in the codes that looked unusual? Any sequences that seemed wrong? She closed her eyes, trying to recall. There were authentication keys, administrative privileges, and she opened her eyes, horrified. Transfer protocols. I thought they were for system restoration, but they could be for system ownership. So if we input the codes, we hand Austin over to Meridian. Forever. My phone buzzed with a text message. A photo of my brother's building, taken from outside. The message read, "Life support systems will fail at 2:15 a.m. Codes must be input by 2 a.m. for restoration to take effect. Your choice, Mr. Kane." They're gonna kill him either way, I realized. If we input the codes, they get control of the city and eliminate witnesses. If we don't, they let everyone trapped die and blame it on infrastructure failure. There has to be another option, Cassiel said. What if there isn't? Joran spoke up from the passenger seat. There's always another option, but it usually involves sacrifice. What are you thinking? We go back to the municipal building. We input the codes, but we don't use Cassiel's memorized version. What do you mean? I've been working on Austin's systems for 15 years. I know every backdoor, every emergency protocol, every hidden access point. What if we input codes that look like restoration protocols, but are actually designed to brick Meridian's systems? Can you do that? Maybe, but it would mean sacrificing Austin's infrastructure permanently. We'd be cutting off our own ability to restore systems later. How long would it take to rebuild? Months, maybe years. And we'd have to do it manually, system by system. I looked at the clock on my dashboard. 1:47 a.m. 13 minutes to decide between letting my brother die, surrendering the city to Meridian, or destroying Austin's infrastructure forever. Rod, Lorcan's voice came through the phone again. Whatever you decide, I want you to know I'm proud of you. You've always done the right thing, even when it was hard. Don't talk like that. I love you, brother. Take care of yourself. The line went dead. I tried calling back, but the number was disconnected. Either the landline had failed, or Meridian had cut it. We're going back, I said, starting the truck. To do what? To save the city, even if it means destroying it first. Cassiel reached over and squeezed my hand. I'm sorry, Roderick, for all of this, for lying to you, for not knowing what they were really planning. You were trying to do the right thing. So were you, and so was Lorcan. I drove toward downtown Austin, watching the city burn in my rearview mirror. The skyline was dark except for scattered fires and the occasional emergency vehicle. The place I'd called home for my entire adult life was dying, and I was about to finish the job. But maybe that was the only way to save it. At 1:58 a.m., we walked into the municipal building for what I knew would be the last time. End log. System restoration status, compromised. Civilian casualties, mounting. Family status, unknown. Infrastructure decision, imminent. Time to critical choice, 2 minutes. Emotional state, grief, determination. Acceptance of necessary sacrifice. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date, March 19, 2024. Time, 2:14 Central Standard Time. Classification, critical discovery, organization structure exposed. We didn't input the codes. At 2 a.m. exactly, I stood in the municipal building's main server room with my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Cassiel was beside me, reciting the memorized restoration sequence. Joran was at the backup terminal, his improvised virus ready to upload. Now, I said, but instead of entering either set of codes, I opened the system's diagnostic interface and began tracing the network connections that were still active despite our supposed isolation. "What are you doing?" Cassiel asked. "Following the signal. They had to communicate with their people inside the building somehow. There has to be a hardened connection we missed." The diagnostic showed 17 active network pathways that shouldn't have existed. Hidden fiber optic cables running through the building's infrastructure. Encrypted data streams flowing to servers that weren't on any official network diagram. "Jesus," Joran whispered. "They've been building this for years." I opened one of the data streams and began decrypting the traffic. What I found made my blood run cold. "This isn't just Austin," I said. "Look at these routing tables." The network map showed connections to 37 cities across North America. Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Denver, Seattle, Vancouver, Toronto. Each node was labeled with a status. Phase 1 complete, Phase 2 initiated, Phase 3 standby. "They're doing this everywhere," Cassiel said. "Austin isn't the test. Austin is just one target in a coordinated attack." "But why?" I accessed the organization's internal communications, using administrative credentials I'd found in the network traffic. "What's the endgame?" The answer was in a document titled Project Urban Reset, Strategic Implementation Timeline. Phase 1, Infrastructure Mapping complete. Identify critical systems in target cities. Recruit insider assets in municipal governments. Establish secondary communication networks. Phase 2, Controlled Collapse in progress. Demonstrate vulnerability of tech-dependent urban centers. Collect data on population response to systematic failure. Identify resistance elements for neutralization. Phase 3, Economic Acquisition pending. Coordinate with international investment partners. Acquire municipal bonds and real estate at crisis prices. Establish Meridian subsidiaries as exclusive infrastructure contractors. Phase 4, Managed Restoration pending. Restore systems under Meridian control. Implement permanent monitoring and control protocols. Eliminate evidence of deliberate sabotage. They're not terrorists, I realized. They're vulture capitalists. They're creating the disasters so they can profit from the recovery. "Look at this," Joran said, pointing to another document. Funding sources. The financial backing came from a consortium of foreign investment firms, private military contractors, and what appeared to be shell companies for several national governments. The total budget was listed as $2.3 billion for the North American operation alone. "They're not just buying cities," Cassiel said. "They're buying countries, one municipality at a time." That's when I found the personnel files. Agent Torres, Cassiel. Recruited, February 2021. Handler, Director Holland. Mission, long-term infiltration of Austin Municipal Tech Division. Status, active. My stomach dropped. 3 years? You've been working for them for 3 years. Roderick, I can explain. 3 years of sitting next to me. 3 years of dating. 3 years of me trusting you with everything. It wasn't supposed to be like this. When they recruited me, they said it was about national security, about preventing foreign cyber attacks on American infrastructure. So you helped them attack American infrastructure instead? No. I thought I was helping identify vulnerabilities so they could be fixed. I didn't know they were planning to exploit them. I accessed her full file. The recruitment had happened during her sister's medical crisis. Meridian had paid for experimental cancer treatment that wasn't covered by insurance. In exchange, Cassiel had provided system access and intelligence reports for over 2 years. "Your sister," I said. "She never had cancer, did she?" "She did. But the treatment..." Cassiel's voice broke. The treatment was provided by a Meridian subsidiary. They saved her life, and in return, I gave them mine. And now you're giving them Austin. I'm trying to save Austin. That's why I'm here with you instead of following orders. I kept digging through the files. Holland's personnel record showed he'd been involved in similar operations in Eastern Europe and South America. Cities destabilized, governments weakened, infrastructure privatized. Always the same pattern. Look at this, I said, opening a folder labeled Contingency Protocols. If the Austin operation was compromised, Meridian had 3 backup plans. Frame the infrastructure failure as a foreign cyber attack. Blame domestic terrorists and use emergency powers to federalize city systems. Trigger a real catastrophic failure and abandon the city entirely. They're going to kill everyone, Joran said. If we don't give them control, they'll just destroy everything. How long do we have? I checked the operational timeline. Phase 3 is scheduled to begin at 4 a.m. If we don't surrender control by then, they activate the contingency protocol. Which one? All of them. First, they'll trigger gas line explosions to simulate terrorist attacks. Then they'll crash the remaining emergency services. Finally, they'll release industrial chemicals from the plants east of the city to force mass evacuation. Creating a dead zone they can acquire for nothing, Cassiel said. Unless we stop them. But how do you stop an organization with unlimited funding, government connections, and 3 years of preparation? The network, I said. We use their own infrastructure against them. What do you mean? They've connected all these cities. Every target is linked to the same central command system. If we can access that system, we can see their operations everywhere. Better than that, we can disrupt them. I began tracing the network back to its source. The data streams led to a server farm in Northern Virginia, but that was just a relay point. The actual command center was offshore, probably in international waters to avoid jurisdiction issues. There, I said, pointing to a satellite uplink designation. Maritime Platform 7. They're running the entire operation from a ship. Can we reach it? Not physically, but we can reach it digitally. The ship's systems were heavily defended, but they had one weakness. They needed real-time data from all the target cities to coordinate the attacks. That meant they had to maintain open connections to our compromised systems. We can send them a virus, I said. Package it as routine data updates from Austin. Will it work? I don't know, but it's the only chance we have. I started coding, using everything I'd learned about Austin's systems over the past 15 years. The virus would look like normal telemetry data, but once it was executed on their command ship, it would begin broadcasting their complete operational database to every major news outlet in the world. Even if this works, Cassiel said, they'll retaliate. They'll trigger the contingency protocol just to punish us. Then we'd better make sure the world knows what they're doing before they do it. I finished the virus and prepared to upload it. But first, I made one more call. Mon, it's Roderick Kane. I need you to evacuate everyone from the industrial district. Right now. What? Why? Because in about an hour, someone's going to try to blow it up. And I need you to make sure the media is there to film it when it happens. Roderick, what are you talking about? Trust me. And Malin, whatever you do, don't let them blame this on foreign hackers or domestic terrorists. The people responsible are about to be exposed. I hung up and looked at Cassiel and Joran. Ready? No, Cassiel said. But let's do it anyway. I uploaded the virus and watched it propagate through Meridian's network. For a moment, nothing happened. Then my phone started ringing. News outlets. FBI. Department of Homeland Security. The virus was working. We did it, Joran said. We actually did it. That's when the building's fire alarm started blaring. They're accelerating the contingency protocol, I said. We need to get out of here now. We ran for the stairs as the building's automated systems began shutting down. Emergency lighting failed. Elevators stopped. Security doors began locking automatically. They're trying to trap us, Cassiel said. Then we'd better run faster. We made it to the ground floor, just as the first explosion echoed from the eastern part of the city. They were targeting the chemical plants, just like the protocols had described. But this time, the world would know who was responsible. And this time, someone would be ready for them. End log. System restoration status. Compromised but fighting back. Civilian casualties. Evacuation in progress. Family status unknown. Infrastructure decision. Virus uploaded successfully. Time to contingency activation. 47 minutes. Emotional state. grim determination, hope through revelation. Organization exposure, global dissemination initiated. Emergency log, Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst, Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date, March 19, 2024. Time, 3:22 Central Standard Time. Classification, active countermeasures, final phase. They found us. We made it 6 blocks from the municipal building before the drones appeared. 4 of them, sleek and silent, hovering at street level with searchlights cutting through the smoke-filled darkness. This way, Joran said, pulling us into an alley between 2 office buildings. His shoulder was bleeding again, but he was moving faster than he had all night. How did they locate us so quickly? I asked. Your phone, Cassiel said. They're tracking the signal. I pulled out my phone to turn it off, but stopped when I saw the screen. 17 missed calls from news outlets. 23 text messages from FBI agents. 6 voicemails from people claiming to be with the Department of Homeland Security. The virus is working, I said. They're getting the data. Good. Now turn it off before they kill us. But I didn't turn it off. Instead, I called Malin. Roderick? Jesus, where are you? The whole Eastern District is on fire. Did you evacuate the chemical plants? We're trying, but some of the automated systems are fighting us. Security doors won't open, fire suppression systems are offline, and the emergency broadcasts keep getting interrupted. They're jamming your communications. Listen to me carefully. You need to get media crews to the Meridian building on 5th Street. Right now. Why? Because that's where they're coordinating the attacks from. My virus should have triggered their backup protocols by now. What backup protocols? That's when I heard it. The sound of helicopter rotors getting closer. They're coming to evacuate their people, I said. Document everything. Film everything. Make sure the world sees. Roderick, what's happening? We're about to find out. I hung up and looked at Cassiel and Joran. We need to get to the Meridian building. Are you insane? Cassiel said. That's exactly where they expect us to go. That's the point. If we're going to stop this, we need to do it from inside their command center. Even if we get there, how do we get inside? I held up the access card I'd taken from the municipal building. Emergency override. Every major building in Austin has to allow emergency services access during declared disasters. You think they'll honor that? No, but they'll have to disable their security systems to prevent it, and that's when we go in. We made it 3 more blocks before the helicopters arrived. 2 of them, military-grade aircraft with Meridian logos on the sides. They landed on the roof of the Meridian building, and I watched through binoculars as figures in tactical gear began loading equipment and personnel. They're evacuating, Joran said. Your virus spooked them. Not all of them. Look, the helicopters were only taking some people. Others were staying behind, moving equipment into the building's lower levels. They're not evacuating, I realized. They're consolidating, preparing for the final phase. Which is what? Total destruction. If they can't control Austin, they're going to make sure no one else can either. We reached the Meridian building at 3:47 a.m. The street was empty except for scattered debris and the occasional emergency vehicle racing toward the fires in the Eastern District. The building's windows were dark except for the top 3 floors, where I could see the glow of computer screens and emergency lighting. How do we get in? Cassiel asked. Front door, I said, walking toward the main entrance. The security system was still active, but when I swiped the emergency override card, the locks disengaged. The doors opened with a soft electronic chime. That was too easy, Joran said. It's not a trap, I said. They want us here. What? Think about it. They're evacuating their key personnel, but leaving the building operational. They need someone to take the blame for what's about to happen. Us. 3 Rogue City employees break into Meridian building during terrorist attack. They're found dead in the rubble after the building collapses. Perfect scapegoats. So why are we walking into it? Because we're not going to be scapegoats. We're going to be heroes. The elevator was still working, so we rode it to the 8th floor where the building's main server room was located. The doors opened to reveal a space that looked like mission control at NASA. Dozens of screens showing real-time data from cities across North America. Network diagrams, status reports, live video feeds from security cameras. My God, Cassiel whispered. Look at the scope of this. Dallas, Phase 2 complete. Economic disruption initiated. Houston, Phase 1 complete. Infrastructure mapping verified. Phoenix, Phase 2 in progress. Controlled collapse 73% complete. Denver, Phase 3 standby. Ready for acquisition protocols. They're not just attacking Austin, I said. They're attacking American civilization. Sir, you need to step away from the terminals. I turned to find Director Holland standing in the doorway, flanked by 2 men in tactical gear. He was older than I'd expected, probably in his 60s, with silver hair and the kind of calm confidence that comes from years of getting away with everything. Mr. Kane, Ms. Torres, Mr. Webb, I was hoping we could resolve this without violence. You mean without witnesses, I said. I mean without unnecessary casualties. What you've done tonight has been impressive, but ultimately futile. Your operation is blown. The whole world knows what you're doing. Do they? All they know is that there's been a coordinated cyber attack on American infrastructure. They'll naturally assume it's foreign adversaries. China, Russia, Iran. Take your pick. We uploaded your operational database. Everything. You uploaded a database. But databases can be fabricated. Evidence can be manufactured, especially when the only witnesses are dead. One of the tactical officers raised his weapon. Wait, Cassiel said. Before you kill us, answer one question. Why? Why? Holland seemed genuinely puzzled. Because it's profitable. Because it's efficient. Because democratic governments are fundamentally incapable of making the hard decisions necessary for modern urban management. So you decided to make them for us. We decided to create opportunities for better management. Cities that are economically devastated but physically intact are perfect investments. Especially when you can acquire them at crisis prices and then profit from the reconstruction. While people die anyway. We're just making their deaths profitable. That's when I activated the building's fire suppression system. I'd been quietly interfacing with the building's systems through my tablet while Holland was talking. The same emergency override that had gotten us into the building also gave me access to its safety systems. Halon gas flooded the server room, and the tactical officers immediately began coughing and stumbling. Holland pulled out a gas mask, but it was too late. The suppression system was designed to displace oxygen in under 30 seconds. You're going to kill us all, Holland gasped. No, I said, putting on the emergency mask I'd taken from the municipal building. I'm going to save everyone. While the others struggled with the gas, I accessed the main command terminal and began uploading a new virus. Not to expose them this time, but to shut them down. Every city in their network would receive a signal to initiate emergency protocols that would isolate their systems from external control. It won't work, Holland said, his voice muffled by the gas mask. We have contingency systems, hardened networks. You can't stop all of them. I don't need to stop all of them. I just need to stop you. I activated the building's emergency broadcast system and began transmitting everything we'd discovered. Not just to news outlets, but to every emergency service, every government agency, every police department in the country. The complete operational database, the personnel files, the financial records, the attack timelines. Phase 4 was supposed to be managed restoration, I said. Instead, it's going to be managed justice. The halon gas was clearing, but the damage was done. The tactical officers were unconscious, and Holland was barely standing. This won't end it, he said. There are other organizations, other operations. You've won one battle, but the war continues. Maybe. But tonight, Austin survives. I hit the final command, and every screen in the room went dark. Meridian's network was down. Their command structure was compromised. Their operation was blown. You've destroyed everything, Holland said. No, I said. I've saved everything. That's when I heard the helicopters returning. But this time, they weren't Meridian aircraft. They were FBI helicopters, and they were landing on the roof. Mr. Kane? A voice came over the building's intercom. This is Agent Rebecca Santos, FBI. We're here to help. 8th floor, I said. Server room. And you're going to want to document everything. I looked at Cassiel and Joran. We did it. Did we? Cassiel asked. Austin's systems are isolated. Meridian's network is down. Their people are in custody. And every city in their network has been warned. What about the people trapped in buildings? The chemical fires? That's Phase 5, I said. Actual restauración. The hard work of rebuilding without shortcuts, without profit motives, without betrayal. Think it'll work? It has to, because the alternative is letting them win. Agent Santos and her team entered the server room, weapons drawn but non-threatening. Mr. Kane, we've been monitoring your transmissions. We need to debrief you immediately. First, we need to coordinate emergency response. There are people trapped throughout the city, and some of the automated systems are still compromised. Already in progress. We've got teams working on manual overrides for all critical systems. And my brother, Lorcan Kane, trapped in the building at safe. Extracted 20 minutes ago along with 22 other civilians. I felt my knees buckle with relief. He's alive? Alive and asking for you. For the first time in 8 hours, I smiled. Agent Santos, I said, you're going to want to start with the financial records. Follow the money, and you'll find the people really responsible for this. Already on it. And Mr. Kane? Thank you. All of you. You probably saved more than just Austin tonight. I looked out the window at the city below. Dawn was breaking, and Austin was still burning in places. But it was also still standing. Still fighting. Still alive. No, I said. Austin saved itself. We just gave it the chance. End log. System restoration status. Network secured. Manual restoration beginning. Civilian casualties. Minimized through coordinated evacuation. Family status. Safe. Lorcan extracted successfully. Infrastructure decision. Complete network isolation achieved. Time to dawn. 43 minutes. Emotional state. Exhausted triumph. Cautious hope. Organization status. Command structure compromised. Key personnel in custody. Mission status. Primary objectives achieved. Austin survives. Emergency log. Austin Municipal Tech Division. Analyst. Roderick Kane, led cybersecurity. Date. March 26, 2024. Time. 14:33 Central Standard Time. Classification. Final report. Aftermath assessment. 1 week later, Austin is still dark. Not completely dark. The manual overrides worked. Emergency services have power. Hospitals are functioning. The water treatment plants are operational. But the smart city infrastructure that made Austin a model of modern urban efficiency? That's gone. Probably forever. I'm writing this from a coffee shop on South Lamar that's running on generator power. The owner, Mrs. Rodriguez, keeps the place open because it's become an unofficial community center. People gather here to share information, check on neighbors, coordinate recovery efforts. The kind of human connection that used to happen through apps and automated systems. It's like the city has gone back in time, Lorcan said when I met him for lunch yesterday. He's staying in my apartment while his building undergoes structural inspection. The automated lockdown systems caused more damage than anyone realized. Not necessarily a bad thing. He's right, but it's complicated. The FBI arrested 17 Meridian operatives in Austin alone. Director Holland is in federal custody facing terrorism charges. The Maritime Command platform was seized by the Coast Guard in international waters. $347 million in assets have been frozen. But the damage is done. Not just to Austin, but to the idea of smart cities entirely. People don't trust the technology anymore, Agent Santos told me during my final debriefing. City councils across the country are rolling back automation projects. Infrastructure investment is at a standstill. Meridian may have lost, but they achieved their goal of destabilizing urban tech dependence. Is that necessarily bad? Ask me in 5 years when cities can't handle population growth because they're afraid to modernize. The human cost is harder to quantify. We lost 43 people during the crisis. Heart attacks, accidents, 1 case of carbon monoxide poisoning when automated ventilation systems failed. The chemical plant fires displaced 8,000 residents, though most have been able to return home. Mrs. Chun from city planning didn't make it. She died in the building with my brother, but not from the lockdown. Her heart couldn't handle the stress. Lorcan says her last words were about the city's resilience, how Austin had survived floods and ice storms and economic crashes, and how it would survive this too. She was right. Austin is surviving. But it's changed. I walk different streets now. Not because of damage, but because I see the infrastructure differently. Every traffic light, every security camera, every automated system is a potential vulnerability. The city feels fragile in a way it never did before. You're paranoid, Cassiel said when I mentioned this. We met for coffee yesterday, the first time we'd talked since the FBI interviews. You see threats everywhere now. Can you blame me? No. But you can't live like that forever. Cassiel is facing federal charges for her role in the conspiracy, but her cooperation during the crisis has earned her a plea deal. Community service, probation, permanent ban from working in cybersecurity. She's thinking about teaching high school computer science. Kids need to understand how technology works, she said. Not just how to use it, but how to question it, how to recognize when it's being used against them. You think they'll listen? They'd better, because this wasn't the last time something like this will happen. She's right about that too. The FBI has identified similar operations in 12 countries. The business model is too profitable to abandon. Create the crisis, profit from the recovery, rinse and repeat. But now people know what to look for, Agent Santos said. That's something. Is it enough? I don't know. What I do know is that Austin is rebuilding. Not with automated systems and smart algorithms, but with human judgment and community cooperation. The recovery is slower, less efficient, more expensive. But it's also more resilient. The City Council voted last week to create a new position, Director of Infrastructure Security. They offered me the job. Your job would be to make sure this never happens again, Mayor Davidson said. To design systems that can't be turned against us. I'm not sure that's possible. Then your job is to make sure we're ready when it is turned against us. I accepted the position, but with conditions. Every major system has to have manual overrides. Every automation project has to be reviewed by a community board. Every vendor has to undergo security audits that include checking for connections to organizations like Meridian. It's going to make everything more expensive, the mayor warned. It's going to make everything more secure. Same thing these days. Maybe that's the new reality. Security costs money. Privacy costs efficiency. Resilience costs convenience. The smart city dream was always built on the assumption that we could have it all: efficiency, security, convenience, low cost. Meridian proved that assumption wrong. But they also proved something else. When the technology fails, when the systems break down, when the infrastructure collapses, people endure. They adapt. They help each other. They find ways to survive. The coffee shop where I'm writing this is busier than it was before the crisis. Not because the Wi-Fi is better, there is no Wi-Fi, but because people want to be around other people. To talk face to face. To share information directly instead of through screens. It's like the whole city woke up, Mrs. Rodriguez said. People are paying attention to each other again. Last night, I drove through East Austin to check on the chemical plant cleanup. The roads are still rough, the streetlights are still manual, and some buildings are still boarded up. But there were kids playing in the streets. Families sitting on porches. Neighbors talking over fences. It looked like Austin used to look before the smart city initiatives. Before the automated everything. Before we decided that efficiency was more important than humanity. My phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Lorcan. Barbecue tomorrow? I'm cooking. No automated anything, I promise. I smile and text back. I'll bring the beer. Some things are worth doing the old-fashioned way. I finish my coffee and close my laptop. Time to go home. Not because an app told me to, or because an algorithm calculated the optimal departure time, but because I want to. That's a choice I'd forgotten I could make. Outside, the sun is setting over a city that's learning to be human again. The skyline is different now. Fewer lights, more shadows, less digital glow. But it's still Austin. Still home. And maybe that's enough. Final log entry. System restoration status. Manual operations established. Automated systems under community oversight. Civilian casualties. 43 confirmed. 8,000 temporarily displaced. Family status. Safe, recovering, stronger bonds formed. Infrastructure decision. Security prioritized over efficiency. Community oversight implemented. Organization status. Key operatives in custody. Assets frozen. Operations disrupted globally. Emotional state. Cautious optimism. Acceptance of new reality. Appreciation for human resilience. Mission status. Complete. Austin survives. Humanity prevails. Vigilance maintained. Personal reflection. Technology serves humanity, not the other way around. Future outlook. Slower, more expensive, more secure, more human. End of emergency log series. Roderick Kane, Director of Infrastructure Security. Austin, Texas. March 26, 2024. Epilogue, 6 months later. Found in archived city records, recovered from encrypted backup systems. The screens watch us still, but now we watch them back. Every camera, every sensor, every automated system in Austin now operates under the Community Technology Oversight Board. Citizens can request access to any data collected about them. Any algorithm that affects city services has to be transparent and auditable. It's slower. It's more expensive. It's worth it, because we learned something during those 8 hours in March. We learned that the city isn't the buildings or the systems or the infrastructure. The city is the people. And people, when they work together, are stronger than any technology designed to control them. The coffee shop on South Lamar is still busy. Mrs. Rodriguez still serves coffee with a smile. Kids still play in the streets of East Austin. And somewhere in the distance, you can still hear the city breathing. Austin endures. Changed, scarred, but alive. And that's enough. RK.